Episode 23, Tips and Tales. Hello, I'm here to talk with you again today, and I'm going to incorporate a principle of therapy in with what I'm going to talk about, though it's not therapy specifically, but it has something to do with change, which that's the reason we go to therapy, or that's the reason we think we are going to therapy. We think we want to change something. So I'm going to tell you a tale today. I was driving down the road and there was a church sign. You know how churches put out these billboard like messages, and usually I'm going too fast. I can't read it. But I caught the word Goliath, and so I made a mental note that the next time I was driving down that road, I would take more, I would go slower and surreptitiously look over and read what it was. Well, so today I did. And I was very interested to see that it said, for every Goliath, there is a stone. Well, now that will give you pause, especially if you don't know the story of David and Goliath. You might really be pondering it, but figure it's a religious thing, right? And the reason I'm talking to you about it is not because I'm trying to promote a religious idea, okay? So you can relax your defenses. I am not trying to evangelize you, okay? The story of David and Goliath involved this young boy named David who decides that he will offer his services to vanquish this humongous giant of a man who's threatening his people, Israel. And the foreign group are the Philistines, and then David's group are the Jews. And David offers to help, and he's a boy, 9 or 10 years old maybe. He has spent his time out in the meadows with the sheep, keeping the sheep. He spent hours out there communing with nature. The reason I know that he's communing with nature is because many of his songs, which are also contained in the Bible, by the way, in the book we call Psalms, many of his songs are there. And many of them were inspired by his connection with the earth, with the experience of being in the creation and being connected to his spiritual source, which some would call the universe, some call God, some call, a divine energy. Whoever's in charge, which we kind of hope there's somebody in charge. Anyway, he spent hours of his boyhood doing this while he took care of the sheep. And in the midst of caring for the sheep, he often had to deal with predators, animals, specifically a bear and a lion that he speaks of, that he wrestled with and killed, which is pretty impressive for a boy. Maybe he was a little bit older, maybe he was 12 or 13, but he was a boy, and he was a musician. He was a singer. So what was he doing all this time out there? He was with himself, developing skills. Do you know how I know this? Well, he had a slingshot. And this was what he was planning to use. Do you know what a slingshot is? If you're a boy, I'm sure you know what a slingshot is. Anyway, it's this contraption that's in a Y shape and has plastic on it or something stretchy. I don't know what it had back then. And probably some sort of guts, stringy guts. That's nice to think of. And you could put a rock or an object in the pouch at the back of it and pull it, aim it, let it go, and hit something. Have you ever used one? Well, it takes some effort to get it to go where you want it to go and not break a window or do other destructive things. It takes a lot of practice. Well, he used a stone, and the first stone hit Goliath. Bullseye, middle of the forehead. Big monster dead, just like that. Wow. David said he was doing this in the name of the Lord. Good for him. He was giving God credit for helping him. He had looked for counsel and direction before he took on this big, adventuresome feat. He asked for guidance. Mm-hmm. That's not a bad idea to ask someone greater than you. Mothers are good as people to ask. To ask somebody greater than you for some advice, some counsel. Not many people do that. But David did. He was a prayerful, meditative individual, and he sought counsel. In fact, he sought counsel more than once about this very big decision. And then he used his skills. He used his skills that he had been practicing for years and years and years out on the hillsides. There is a lesson here to be gained from this. For every Goliath, there is a stone, perhaps, but if I'm throwing the stone at a monster, I'm in trouble. Whoever's throwing that stone needs to be very skilled if the stone is going to hit its mark and accomplish that which it is intended for. What I want to encourage you about here is that change requires a very intentional commitment internally to do something about who we are, where we are, what's happening in our lives. It takes skill. It takes a meditative quality of willing to be with yourself and your inner experience. It takes courage. And it also often takes the counsel and help from a support system that's greater than you are. I do hope that this was an interesting video, even if it wasn't all that funny. See you next time. Bye.